A crunch deal to raise the U.S. debt ceiling has been voted through by the House of Representatives. The agreement aims to avert a potentially catastrophic scenario under which the U.S. defaults on its national debts. The bill was pushed through by a bipartisan coalition of centrist Democrats and Republicans against fierce conservative opposition. The deal to raise the $31.4 trillion U.S. debt ceiling came under fire from hard-right conservatives for falling short on the deep spending cuts they wanted. The hard-fought deal pleased few, but politicians believed it was better than the alternative, a devastating economic upheaval if Congress failed to act. It will now go before the U.S. Senate. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who hammered out the agreement with President Biden, said it was a win for Americans.
I want to thank our conference. You know, on February 1st, I got my first meeting with the president. I've been thinking about this day before my vote for speaker, because I knew the debt ceiling was coming. I wanted to make history. I wanted to do something no other Congress has done, that we would literally turn the ship, that for the first time in quite some time, we'd spend less than we spent the year before. Tonight, we all made history, because this is the biggest cut and savings this Congress has ever voted for. And it's not that we're just voting for it. This is going to be law. $2.1 trillion. People look at me and say, why are you always an optimist? Because I know, as an American, tomorrow will be better than today. I had to be an optimist that every day I woke up and said, maybe today the president would change his mind. Maybe today he'd want to put the country first. Maybe today he'd want to meet. But he never did. Not until our entire conference passed the bill. Because of the vote we took tonight, the largest rescissions in American history. All the COVID money, the billions of dollars sitting out there that they said they would never bring back. You know what? To the taxpayer, to you hard-working Americans, we stood for you. We brought that money back. For those who are afraid that they're going to get audited because the president wants to have 87,000 new IRS agents, right now he has 0. We took every single dollar they were going to hire somebody this year away. And I promise you, I'll be back next year and next year and next year. Because I believe government should be here to help you, not go after you. We didn't just take the money from this year, we took another $20 billion. To everyone in America, I will never give up on you. It wasn't an easy fight. I had people on both sides upset, but I was focused on you. And I will stay focused on you, because I'm waking up tomorrow going after everything we didn't get here today.
Well, for more on all of this, we can speak to Arise U.S. correspondent Eric Harm, who joins us live from Washington. Eric, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. Now, this was a relatively easy passage with a vote of 314 in favor and 117 against, despite some defections on both sides of the aisle. Now, there had been anticipation of a revolt by hard-right Republicans. What's your assessment?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. And this is a deal that needed to get done. We're talking about the full faith and credit of the United States. And the United States government is actually scheduled to run out of money by June 5th. So that's only about 4 days away. And what we're seeing here is there simply was no room to maneuver or to actually continue to negotiate, because if, in fact, the government runs out of money and defaults, we're talking not only economic calamity for the United States domestically, but also the catastrophic response that could mean for the global economy. We're talking about the largest economy in the world. And so this was a deal that had to get done. But there's still more room in terms of what needs to be done, because we now know that this has to go before the Senate. And they have to pass that legislation in the Senate before it can actually get to the president's desk. So the clock is still very much ticking. And while we see that there were defections on both the right and the left, that still does not mean that that this crisis is over. In fact, it's not. And we're told that the Senate can very well work through the weekend to get this done.
Now, we heard the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, there, taking credit for the bill's approval. Quite a passionate speech, Now, what did he and the Republicans get out of this?
Well, this is the interesting thing about this legislation. I've gone through the 99 pages of it, and quite frankly, what they got was about $1.5 trillion in cuts over the next decade. Now, what's interesting about that is that's actually something that they could have gotten through the normal budget process without holding the debt limit hostage. And quite frankly, there's nothing in this deal that suggests that they actually played hardball with the president. One of the biggest issues that they did get that was a hard line for them was they wanted work requirements for those who receive who receive a safety net spending from the federal government for food stamps and things like that. But what the president was able to do in return was he was able to weaken the requirements of how those work requirements are actually played out. And what the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office showed is that there's actually more spending on the work as a result of the work requirements, not less. So what the Republicans actually wanted and what they saw as their hard line is basically a wash, because now what we see is there's an increase in spending of more than $2 trillion as a result of those work requirements. So it's not very much that the Republicans got. And more importantly, what President Biden was able to do was not simply extend the debt ceiling over 2 years, but he was able to actually eliminate the debt ceiling over the next 2 years.
Now, the next hurdle is the Senate, where the Democrats hold sway. Is this a done deal now?
No, it's not, because already we're hearing from some Republicans who are saying that they want to see what the amendments are going to be. And we know Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, has said that he wants to put an amendment on the floor on this legislation that would include a 5% cut of government spending across the board. And that could potentially include very popular programs such as Social Security. It's unclear if that amendment is actually going to go on the floor. But what right now, there is no timetable in the Senate in terms of how long debate is going to take place and how many votes are going to be brought up before they can actually get this legislation through. What we do know is there's very little time to waste. But one of the good signs that we are hearing, and I spoke to a number of my sources in the Senate yesterday, and the Republican caucus, at least the leadership, is unified in passing this legislation, as well as Democratic leadership. So what we're seeing here is leadership believe that they can actually get this done. The question, of course, is will rank and file members actually fall in line to support this legislation and get it to the president's desk before June 5th?
So if the bill wins approval, how does President Biden come out of this? He's been promoting bipartisanship. Will it be a win for him?
This will absolutely be a win for the president, because what he does is he takes this fight off the table until the next election in 2020. He takes it off the table until 2025. In addition to that, because many of the parameters around the budget have also been addressed, he also takes the specter of a potential government shutdown off the table at the end of this year as well. So this is a win-win, certainly for President Biden. And also it allows many of his signature programs to remain in place as well.
Arise U.S. correspondent Eric Ham, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.